Hi, my name is Isaki Midoriya, and this is a story on how I got cheated on. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. So, we start this video off when I'm 4 years old. My mom, well, she just took me to the quirk doctor. But once we got there and I was tested, I was found out to be quirkless, or at least seemingly quirkless. The doctor said my quirk was still dormant and it could activate at any time, but it might not activate at all, is what he told my mother. At the time, my mother thought this was just a watered down way of him saying I was quirkless, but this would be completely wrong. But we'll come to that soon. Once we got done at the quirk doctor, my mom took me home and she told my dad what the quirk doctor had told me. Or us. And, well, he wasn't too pleased. See, my dad, he was a cold bastard, to put it honestly. The only reason he had me was to make himself rich. He wanted to marry a powerful woman that could, well, birth a powerful child, and he wanted the money. But now that he's found out that I'm quirkless somewhat, he didn't really need me. So from the time that I was 4 to the time that I was pretty much 13, I was basically on my own. My parents stopped feeding me, clothing me. Damn, they mostly forgot about me. I mean, it's not like they were gonna care in the first place, but yeah, that's pretty much how my life turned out. And at the age of 13, I was in my last year of middle school. Or, yeah, my last year of middle school. No, I'll say 14. When I was 14, I was at my last year of middle school. And I met this kid. His name was Bakugo, and he was cool. Oh, and by the way, this is just a side note. Bakugo isn't a complete dick. Yeah, he's actually gonna be, well, nice. Yeah, for the time being. But, yeah. I met this guy named Bakugo, and we really hit it off. He was nice to me. Well, one of the first people to ever be nice to me, even though I was quirkless. And I thought he was playing some sick prank at first, but after a few months, I saw that he was actually genuinely wanting to be my friend. And so, from that day forward, well, we talked every day. We got to know each other. Bakugo, he was my sunshine. And I thought I was his. We were talking for at least 5 months. And that's when he asked me, Isaki, will you go out with me? I'd blush super hard. And I'd say yes. He'd smile and say, hell yeah. Well, I'll pick you up at 8. We're going to a movie. As I'd still be blushing and I'd nod my head and say, okay. Fast forward a few hours. It's 7 o'clock and I've gotten all dressed up. I've put on, well, a pretty fancy dress and I look really nice. My mom even did my hair. And when he came to get me, His jaw dropped, and I never seen Bakugo look like this. He was dressed up like an actual gentleman and not just some ruffian. But I kinda liked his rough side. It was cool. And well, I was kinda attracted to cool boys. Not to say that, oh my gosh, I feel so weird. To be honest, I feel gay. I feel gay. Yeah, yeah. You know what? This is just one big no homo. This is just one big no homo. So all right. Let's continue. So his jaw dropped, and he told me I looked beautiful. I thanked him for this compliment, and well, we went to the movie. We went all the way to the top row, and we sat down. It was a romance movie. It set the mood perfectly. At the middle of the movie, Bakito looked me in my eyes, and he told me he loved me. And I could see a spark in his eye. A devious spark in his eye. But I didn't care. It felt like everything was going great for me. I leaned in as he leaned in. Closer and closer and closer until our lips touched. And at this moment, I could feel fireworks. It was just us two in dark, starry void with fireworks going off everywhere. I loved Bakugo, and he loved me. Oh my fucking god. Pause. But yeah. So, after this fantastic kiss, fuck me. After this fantastic kiss, me and Bakugo, well, we kinda made out for the rest of the movie. And then, well, he took me home and he kissed me goodnight. I would go up to my bed, my mom would ask me how the movie was, and I'd say it was wonderful. She'd see that I was kind of, well, starry at the moment, and she'd leave me alone. She'd say, well, my dad'd say, how was the movie? Did she enjoy it? Not like he cared at all, but he asked, and my mom said, well, yeah, I guess. But she might be doing some adult things. She might have done an adult thing. An adult thing? What are you talking about? Well, it's a girl thing. That's all you need to know. Is that's what my mom would tell him, and they'd leave me alone. It would be funny, because anytime I would go out would be the only time that they would interact with me. I thought it was kinda dumb, but it didn't really matter to me. As long as my parents were actually nice to me for once, I was happy. My life, it was starting to, well, get good again. I felt happy for the first time until our year ended. And me and Bakugo, well, we kinda had to go our separate ways. He went to UA, and I was supposed to go to some, well, quirkless school, but the good news for me was, well, UA, it had a support group, and well, I applied and I got in. It was called the UA. What was it? The UA. Hold on, let me go fucking look that up. Alright, I'm back. But it was the UA support course. And I was thrilled once I got in. I told Bakugo and he seemed kind of distant. I didn't know exactly why, but he seemed as if it was bad news or something. As he'd look at me and say, "How'd you get in?" As I could, well, feel the worry in his voice. I would have said that, well, I'm smart, if you didn't know, and, well, they have a support course. That way I can kind of be like your sidekick. As Bakugo would just shrug it off, and, well, he'd leave. I would be weirded out, because Bakugo hasn't ever acted like this towards me. But I didn't let it ruin my day, and, well, I prepared for the UA exam. 10 months later, after hard and vigorous studying, oh, not to mention training, I would pass the UA, well, entrance exam. I wouldn't do that good in the practical exam, but I'd gain a lot of hero points because I'd have saved a bunch of people. And this, well, kind of added up. And so I did good enough to get into the support course. Once I was there, or the first day of school, I saw a pink-haired girl with big tits. Her name was Mei Hatsume. And she came up to me and said, "Hi, I'm Mei. It's nice to meet you. I'm Isaki Midoriya." As we'd shake hands. As she'd say, "Are you also in the support course?" As I'd say, yeah. Wait, what's that on your head?" As I'd be looking at these weird goggles she had on. "Oh, well, they help me build things. It's kinda helpful to my quirk. But that doesn't matter right now. Look, the teacher's about to say something." As the teacher would, well, come up to the front of the class and say, "Hey guys, be careful and, well, go crazy. I want you guys to create your wildest inventions. Anything you think would suit a hero. Make it, test it, and apply it to something." As the teacher would say, "Go." As, well, we would all run off. I'd stop at the first workbench I'd come to, and I'd think about making a gun. A gun that can shoot, well, gravitational pulses to pull and push, crush, and make people float. As 5 hours later, well, not 5 hours, an hour later, I'd be done with it. As I'd go to the teacher and, well, he'd say, "Huh, a gravitational gun. Interesting. I want you to test it on me." Wait, what? Test it on you? What happens if something messes up? I'll be fine, just test it on me. As I would point the gun at him and he'd say, "Fire." I'd pull the trigger and it was on float, so he began to float. And he'd say, "Huh, interesting. Now, crush me." As I'd crush him, he'd get up and, well, agonizing pain, seeing that he landed on the ground face first. But it worked. My gun worked, and I got an A+ for that day. And so I'll say, this is just a side note. I'll say that they have dorms. Yeah, I'll give them dorms. Yeah, dorms. So, after class, me and May were walking, and she said, "Well, what are you gonna go do?" It's not like, well, it's anything to do around here. As I said, "Well, I'm gonna go talk to my boyfriend." Your boyfriend? Who's that? Do you know Bakugo? Bakugo. Nope, never heard of him. As I'd sweat drop, as I'd say, "Well, he's my boyfriend, and here, come on. I'll let you meet him." As we would be walking, as we would eventually make it to the, well, class 1A, dorm. Once we entered the dormitory, I'd see everybody smiling and happy. And they'd all say, who are you? "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Isaki Midoriya, and I'm looking for Bakugo." They'd say, "Oh, well, he's in his room." "Wait, who's that?" As they'd see Mei behind me, as she'd say, "Oh, sorry, I'm Mei Hatsume from Class 1B. Nice to meet you all." As they'd all say hi and assume that we were going to meet Bakugo. There was a small little guy with purple balls in his head that was, well, bleeding from his nose, but I didn't really pay that any mind, as most of the girls were just calling him a pervert, so I kinda quickly rushed out of there. We walked to Bakugo's dorm and, well, we could hear something. It sounded weird. It sounded like a girl being pleasured. As I'd walk closer to his room, as I'd knock on his door and he'd say, "Hey, go away, assholes. Can't you see I'm banging somebody in here?" As I'd quietly peek in the door, as I'd see a naked Bakugo and a yellow-haired girl that was also naked. As I'd say, What? What the hell? Bakugo, what the hell are you doing?" As Bakugo would look up and I could see the frustration on his face, like he didn't want me to be here. He'd say, "Look, the only reason I went out with you is because it was a dare, and shit, I don't like you. I've never liked you. In fact, I'm breaking it off. Goodbye." As I'd say, "So, our relationship meant nothing to you?" As Bakugo would say, "No, not really. And now that I'm thinking about it, why would I go out with a quirkless loser like you? You're a quirkless little bitch. You always will be, and, well, you can't be anything else. Now get out of the dorm." As the yellow-haired girl would say, "Yeah, you little bitch. Leave, so my Bakugo here can keep pleasuring me." But I was on my last straw. My parents, I finally understood what they were doing. And, well, I could understand the rules of this world. My parents, They wanted me to go out and find a nice boy that, well, I could have a child with. Which is why my mom always dressed me in this lewd clothing. I thought it was kind of weird that I was dressing like a little slut, but it never really bothered me until now. But I noticed that people are fake. They're not fair. They can switch up quick, and they won't show any signs of remorse about it. When I looked at Bakugo, well, pounding that little girl, whoever she was, my heart broke. I could feel pain seeping in. I could feel hatred filling my heart. The crack, it was closing. My heart, it had become dark. My eyes, they would glow a bright blue as a sword. It would come out of the ground as I'd rush at Bakugo. I'd kick him, sending him flying into the wall. As I'd say, "You're gonna pay. You played with my emotions long enough." As I could feel my pain, my suffering, everything that I've been through. I could feel it coming all back up. As I'd say, "Why not? I'll just take it out on him." As I rushed at Bakugo, sword in hand. As that girl, she was quick. A green lightning came around her as she'd kick me away from Bakugo. She damn near broke my nose. As I could see May as she was freaking out as she would run to get help. But I wasn't done with my fit of rage. I would throw my sword at the girl as she would block it, but I somehow created another one right behind her, as it would pierce her in her shoulder, as she'd fall to the ground, agonizing, screaming in pain, as I'd kick her in her face, knocking her out. Then I'd set my sights to Bakugo. He'd still be trying to get up from, well, the hole that I kicked him in, as I'd rush at him again, slamming him through the wall, grabbing him by his throat and slamming him through the ground. Bakugo would have made a pretty big crater, as I'd have been on top of him, punching him in his chest, banging on his chest, as I'd be screaming, "Why? Why would you do this to me?" As Bakugo would spit at my face, as he'd say, "I'd never love a quirkless bitch like you." As I'd hit him in his face again, as he'd be knocked out. 5 minutes later, pro heroes such as All Might, Nezu, and Aizawa appeared. They were all puzzled on what has happened, and, well, I was their main suspect. Once they basically reviewed everything, they saw that All Might's daughter was hurt. The next #1 hero. She could be out of commission for at least a year. Because that sword, well, once it pierced her, it froze part of her body. And, well, it's defrosting slowly, but not quick enough. So it'll probably take around a rough year for her to get back to full health. Plus, they tried to use a heater to get, well, the ice off her quicker, but it didn't have any effect. And so once they pretty much learned this and they saw that Bakugo was beaten, they came in and they questioned me. They asked me what happened, and I said that Bakugo was my boyfriend and I caught the both of them cheating. But All Might didn't seem to care. He said, Nezu, are you really gonna believe her? Would you believe that my daughter, of all people, was cheating or even having sexual activity with another student? As Nezu would say, no, All Might, that's not what I was thinking at all. I already knew she was lying. As May would be there to back me up, as she'd say, no, I saw it with my own two eyes as well. As All Might would say, they're both lying. They have to be. As Nezu would say, well, he'd be trying to cover his own ass. As he'd say, yes, All Might, that must be, well, what has happened. So, here's what we're gonna do, ladies. I'm gonna have to suspend you, but as he tried to finish, but All Might would cut him off and say, suspension? Did you see what he did to my? Did you see what she did to my daughter? She put her out of commission for a year, and not to mention young Bakugo. Nezu, I want them expelled, or me and my daughter are leaving. As Nezu would say, hold on, All Might. Now, that's just not fair. Do it, Nezu. Do it now. As Nezu would say, I'm sorry, girls, but the both of you are gonna have to go. As all of Class 1A will be looking at us angrily as we walked out, as they'd say, what monsters. They came here. Fuck. They came here to cause problems. What was the point in that? They called themselves heroes? Screw them. As me and May would have walked out, as she would have hugged me and said, it'll be fine. If they couldn't see, or if Nezu wanted to cover his ass that badly just to keep All Might in his school, well, let him. Screw him. We'll just prove that we can become our own number one heroes. We can be the number one heroes. We can be just as good as the Class 1A people. As I would have hugged her back, saying that, well, she might have been my new best friend. As I have said, you're right. As she'd have, well, walked with me till I got home, and she'd say, well, alright, I'll be seeing you. As I could see her, she was still sort of broken. It was the first day, and we were already kicked out. As I blamed myself. Once I got into my house, I saw my dad, and he was pissed. He said, you ruined our one chance of being rich. You little bitch, you did this on purpose. As he would have backhanded me. I'd have fell to the ground as he'd have started beating me. Until I was a bloody mess. My nose was broken. I was missing, well, 2 of my back teeth. And my body, well, it has scars on it. He'd be cutting me with, well, broken pieces of glass. He'd have shattered beer bottles all over my body. I wouldn't fight back, knowing that I could kill him, but I'd just take the beating. I thought I deserved it. As once he was done, he said, now go to your room, you little bitch, and don't you dare come out. As I would crawl to my room, as he continued throwing bottles at me, saying I wasn't crawling fast enough. As I'd crawl as fast as I could, but it wasn't enough. As my father would say, Stupid bitch. Once I got to my room, I laid down on my bed as I felt horrible. Pakiko cheated on me. My dad hated me. My mom just sat there watching him beat me. Didn't say a word. And I got May kicked out of, her dream school. As I'd start to cry. I'd end up crying myself to sleep. Once I was asleep, I could see a dragon. A dragon with blue scales, 6 wings, blue eyes, deep blue eyes. As it would look at me, and it'd say, "Do you want my power? My full power, seeing that you are my successor." Your successor? Yes. I am the water goddess. A dragon. I was born centuries ago, and I have vast knowledge and power that I could pass down to you. If you accept this, apology. What do you mean, apology? It's my fault. My fault you don't have a quirk. It's my fault that, your parents treat you like this. It's my fault that Bakugo did what he did. It's all because I blocked your quirk. Because I needed you to have this power, or it would fall into the wrong hands. But if you accept my apology, I'll give you my power now. And I will train you. I will train you to be the ultimate killer, the ultimate hero. You won't hesitate. You'll be a god, just like me. As I'd look at her with my eyes glistening. I had a bit of faith in them. As I'd smile and say, "Yeah, let's do it." As I'd take its hand, as it would merge with me, my hair would turn blue. My eyes would become an even darker blue. Or my hair would turn from green to blue. My eyes would turn from green to blue as well. No. They were already blue. Yeah, I'll keep them blue. My eyes turned even deeper than blue. They were deep and dark. And 5 swords. They appeared all around me. And they had weird writing on them that I couldn't read. And when I touched the first one, it glowed. As it would say, "Sword number 1, at your command." As it would be responding to my thoughts. As when I went to touch it, it would fly into my hand as I said, "Wow, what are you?" "Well, I'm a sword. I'm a sword that responds to you and only you. Anything that you want me to do, I'll do it. Just like my 5 other siblings. Or my 4 other siblings, sorry." As I look around and see the 4 other swords as they'd be glowing up. As I'd say, how am I supposed to use all 4 or 5 of you at the same time? As the sword would say, "Well, you don't. You don't physically use us, you mentally use us. We respond to your thoughts, your dreams, your wishes. Anything you want, we'll do." we can form into other powers as well. Say you want the ability to, well, control water. One of us will transform into a glove that can allow you to control water in a sort of way. But there's an extent to this power, or a limit. Each time that you use one of the swords, well, after you use it, you'll have to sleep for at least 12 hours. But that can be worked on. You might only need to nap for 30 minutes after we train, but, well, that's your limit for now. But we're gonna get to training. And we'll train you to the best of our ability, just as our master wanted. Your master? Yeah, the blue dragon. The divine water queen. I'd have said, okay, as we would have begun our training. I'd have stayed in my bed for 5 days. We'd have trained in there for 500 years, seeing that each day in the real world was 100 years in my mindscape. And once we were done training, I had a full grasp over my sword techniques, and I knew what I had to do. I had to change the aspects of this hero society, starting with taking out the League of Villains and proving to UA High School that a quickless nobody can be just as powerful as a prodigy. But I'm going to be leaving it off here. If you guys liked the video, please like and subscribe. But bye.